What's up, everybody? PAX East 2025 is in the books, and this year, indies dominated the show floor more than usual, so I'm here to bring you thoughts on each of the 17 indie games that I played. Also, stick around until the end for a few fun announcements about other cool things that I got to do at PAX. My name is Dave Jackson, this is Tales from the Backlog, and let's get into it. So instead of doing a best in show at the end of this, I'm going to start with one of my favorites that I played at the show. The first one is Tanuki Pawn's Summer, which is developed by Denki Works and published by Critical Reflex. And I had a chance to speak with the game director Liam as I got to try the game on the PAX show floor. Tanuki Pawn's Summer is a bike delivery game where you ride around town, you play a little cute Tanuki dude, and as you're going from place to place, the town is full of ramps and rails, etc. It was designed for mischief on a BMX bike, and that's what you do. You do little BMX tricks around the town. As you do specific deliveries for people as Pawn tries to make money to prepare for an upcoming festival in the town. The deliveries that you do go to specific townspeople who will have a mini game or so corresponding with who they are. In the demo that I got to play, the first delivery was to a sumo wrestler, and so you got to do a little sumo in there. So it was a really fun little thing. It was a kind of slice of life, but also there was an emphasis that Liam told me about making sure that it's fun to get from point A to point B as you're doing the deliveries. And what better way to do that than by getting a little Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on, or Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX on, I suppose. So that's Tanuki Pawn's Summer. I think you should really look out for this. It's just a chill, fun time, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other little mini games and things you'll do throughout the game. There's no release date yet, but it is coming to PC, Xbox Series, and Nintendo Switch, and you should be on the lookout. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. One of the best things about going to PAX and playing games on the show floor is that I'm with a lot of other people, and I get to do something that I don't normally do, which is try multiplayer games. And so here are some fun multiplayer games that I got to try with my friends. First up is Airframe Ultra, developed by Video Cult, the developers behind Rain World, and published by Akupara Games. Airframe Ultra is a really interesting game. It is a, I would say, PS1 plus aesthetic racing combat game. It is a game where we played 4-player split-screen multiplayer on the show floor, and you get to race. You can, kick and slice your friends. You can shoot guns if you get guns during the race, but it has a kind of interesting structure where you race for a while, then you come to a combat arena. You can get off your bikes, or you can fight while on the bikes, try and make money, buy more weapons, and then continue on with the race. Airframe Ultra has some pretty strange controls that took some time to get used to, but once I got used to it and kind of got in the groove of what the game is, it really reminded me of that feeling you would get when you go to, not when you go, but when you went to Blockbuster Video back in the day with your friends. You're going to rent a game for a weekend sleepover or something. The game that you wanted to get, let's say, Mario Kart was checked out. So you pull this weird thing off the shelf that has a cool cover and a fun title like Airframe Ultra. And then you have a good time playing this weird game with your friends. That is the vibe I got from Airframe Ultra. And I'm glad, honestly, that the developers of Rain World very obviously were able to make a passion project, something that they are just seeing if they could do it. So that is Airframe Ultra. There's a demo on Steam right now. No release date yet, but keep your eye on it because I think this is going to be a fun one if you dig the aesthetic especially. The next game is Ultimate Sheep Raccoon, developed and published by Clever Endeavor, and if that title sounds familiar, it is because it's similar to their previous game, Ultimate Chicken Horse, which is one of my favorite multiplayer games ever made. And Ultimate Sheep Raccoon is very similar, except this time instead of building platforming stages, you are racing. And you build a kind of track, but the same thing goes. You're building hazards to mess up your friends and probably yourself along the way. One key difference in Ultimate Sheep Raccoon is instead of dying like you would if you got hit by a trap in Ultimate Chicken Horse, you just get knocked off of your bike, and you can get back up, get on the bike, and continue the race. The only way to permanently die is if you fall in a pit. And the same thing goes. First person to get across the finish line gets more points, but you also get points for if your traps take out your friends, if you collect coins, things like that. There are power-ups to get that will give you double jumps and jetpacks and boosts and things like that. So it's a little bit of a longer sequence of races and things than the platforming in Ultimate Chicken Horse, and a little bit less direct PvP, probably because you respawn. That was just the feeling that I got while playing it. But I did have a really good time playing through an entire round of Ultimate Sheep Raccoon on the show floor, and if you like Ultimate Chicken Horse, I think this one's a slam dunk. You're really going to enjoy this. That is Ultimate Sheep Raccoon, currently has a 2025 release date on Steam. Devolver Digital has been a mainstay on PAX show floors in the past, and while they skipped 2024 PAX East, they're back for 2025. And I got to play 2 multiplayer games published by Devolver this time, and here they are. First up is Mycopunk, developed by Pigeons at Play, and of course published by Devolver. I would say that this one is a kind of mushroomy Borderlands type game, cel-shaded graphics first-person shooter, where you and friends play as a squad of robot rejects fighting against a fungal catastrophe. Now this demo dropped me right in the middle of chaos, and so it was a real scramble to figure out how to play and what was going on and how the weapons and things worked. It's kind of a quirk of playing games on a convention show floor, is that the tutorial, the slow ramp up and things might not be included in that demo. But the game looks really cool, the gunplay is super satisfying, there are enemies all over the place, it's absolute chaos, and as a multiplayer game, it really does require some coordination with your teammates. For example, of course you need to coordinate, maybe you want to double up on a certain enemy, maybe you need help, but this game has a fun death mechanic where if you die, you break into 2 pieces and a teammate has to go grab one half of you and literally carry you to the other half and put you back together, and that's how you respawn in the game. Mycopunk has really good gunplay, as I said, the monster designs are really cool, the art style is gorgeous, it's got what I would say is a trademark Devolver Digital type of game, sense of humor to it, and the movement is super slick, including grappling hooks and things like that. So, you can try the demo for Mycopunk on Steam right now, and it currently has a 2025 release date. The other Devolver multiplayer game that I got to play is called BOTSU. It is developed by Peculiar Pixels and of course published by Devolver Digital, and this is a physics-based multiplayer competition type game. There's lots of different game modes in it, so it's kind of hard to describe everything, but I got to play one game mode called Stockpile, where it was a 3 versus 3 team-based thing where you're trying to bring boxes from the other team onto your side and put it into a goal. The physics system was really at play in this because some boxes are heavier than others and they may require multiple people to pick them up and carry them, but you can run around and you can punch people. Your characters have insane ragdoll physics, so if you hit someone, you get a good hit on someone, you can see them go flying across the stage. Individual body parts seem to have their own individual physics systems, so everybody looks really goofy in the way they move and things like that. So this one was a chaotic, really fun time. The physics system really lends some humor to it, and from the trailer that you can see, there are a bunch of other game modes as well. So I'm excited to see what these other game modes are all about. I think this is going to be some good fun to play with friends. So that's BOTSU. There's a demo on Steam, and it has a planned Q3 2025 release date. After all of that good old-fashioned multiplayer fun, I needed to retreat back into my solo single-player type of gaming mode. And luckily, there are a bunch of single-player games on the floor too, starting with a bunch of 2D action games, which are really my jam. First up is one of my games of the show, one of my favorites, called GIGASWORD. It is developed by Studio Hybrid, which is a solo developer, and published by Akupara Games. GIGASWORD is a puzzle platformer. I kind of got some Elekhead vibes from this, if anyone played Elekhead, where in this game, instead of your head being used as a puzzle solution, you carry legally not the Buster Sword to fight with, but while you're carrying this giant sword, your platforming is super limited. You can run and jump, and that's it. But no high jumps, no swimming, you can climb up ladders, but that's about all you can do. No mantling, for example. So if there is a time when you need to jump higher or mantle or swim, you got to put the sword down and explore without it. And so rooms in GIGASWORD are built around putting your sword down and usually trying to get it to a higher place that you couldn't jump to while holding the sword. And so that kind of reminded me of Elekhead a little bit, that kind of puzzle. And so GIGASWORD is a simple game, but it's one of those games that even on a busy, crowded, noisy convention show floor, you sit down, you figure out the basic mechanic of it, of leaving your sword behind and then trying to go find a way to get it up to a higher place. And you figure that out pretty quickly and you instantly lock into the flow state of the game. And I really, really appreciate a game that can sell itself really, really quickly. And then I do think this game is going to have the juice to provide a really entertaining puzzle platformer action experience. There was also a boss fight in the demo as well. So that is GIGASWORD. There's a demo available on Steam right now, and they're currently targeting a Q3 2025 release date. Now it's time to pump up the action with Altered Alma, which is developed by 2 Awesome Studio and published by Critical Reflex. It is a 2D action platformer, very 2D Metroidvania-like, and a lot more combat focused than GIGASWORD, which I talked about earlier. You have a regular sword combo attack, you have parrying that seems very important, you have a slide dash around, and the key thing that I got to see in the demo is you get a magic dagger that you can throw to teleport, to solve platforming challenges, and to do finishing moves in combat when an enemy is weakened enough. And so there really is an emphasis in this both on platforming and combat, although the part that I got to play really was heavier on the combat side of things. I had a little bit of issue getting the parry timing down, felt a little bit inconsistent to me, but it was a game that when my time on the demo was running out, I wanted to keep playing. I wanted to keep going, partly because there's really gorgeous sci-fi neon pixel art, and I wanted to kind of master. It may be that parry timing was more just me getting used to the flow of the game than, you know, a poor mechanic in the game itself. So that is Altered Alma. There's a demo on Steam, no release date yet, but no matter where you play, PC, Mac, Linux, Switch, PS4, PS5, and all things Xbox from the last decade or so, you're going to get Altered Alma on your platform. The last one in this action platformer type of group here is called Constance. It is developed by BTF and published by a partnership between BTF and Byte Rockers Games. Constance is one of those games that you play and you're like, oh, these developers loved Hollow Knight. I can see that. In Constance, you play as a painter who has a storyline in the real world, but then also has a colorful Hollow Knight type game in a, quote, inner world. And Constance, to me, felt like a very, very Hollow Knight inspired game, but more emphasis on platforming than especially early game sections in Hollow Knight. So most of the challenge that I had in Constance was not from combat, it was from pretty tough platforming. That said, the controls were very responsive. I didn't have an issue controlling the character. It was just tough platforming challenges. Also, looking at the trailer, you should be drawn in by this very bright, very colorful, beautiful hand-drawn art style. And so, if you're waiting for Silksong, you might want to check out the demo for Constance, which is available on Steam right now, and the game has a 2025 release date. After all of those tough action platformer games, how about some story-based stuff that's a little bit slower, a little bit more chill, a little bit more heady? First of all, I played a demo for The Berlin Apartment, which is developed by BTF, and again, partnership in publishing between BTF and Byte Rockers Games. The Berlin Apartment is a walking simulator type game set throughout different time periods in history in one apartment in, you guessed it, Berlin. So, throughout scenes in 1933, 1945, 1967, 1989, and 2020, you get to see the stories of not only the city of Berlin as it changes, but the different inhabitants of one apartment. And I got to speak with one of the programmers there named Finley. They told me that they were inspired by going into old apartments and just wondering about the people who had lived in these places before them. So That is the inspiration for the Berlin apartment, and the very short demo that I got to play took me through a couple of these time periods and really sold me on that pitch for the game. You'll get to see things in the game that affect the people that live there, like the separation of Berlin during the Cold War, the rise of Nazism in the 30s, and the COVID pandemic in 2020. The developers are not shying away from these subjects in the game, and I think it's going to be all the better for the story they're trying to tell. And throughout the game, you'll get to do some light gameplay like watering plants, folding paper airplanes, etc., etc. So that is the Berlin apartment. I think this is one to keep your eye on. It was definitely one of my favorite story-based experiences that I played on the show floor. There's a demo right now on Steam for the Berlin apartment, and the release date is to be announced. Next up is a couple of games that I got to play at the Toge Productions booth. The first one is Compensation Not Guaranteed, which is developed by Team Project Lunch, which is a Singaporean development team, and published by Toge Productions. This is a Papers, Please type game. Very, very Papers, Please inspired. From the story setup to the gameplay, it's Papers, Please all the way down, although with a very different art style, as you can see in the trailer. It is very colorful. The characters are animals. It has a very interesting look to it. You play as a government agent checking title deeds to give compensation to the residents who are having their homes knocked down to build up a newly formed nation. So these people are being relocated against their will, and you are on the side of the government doing the relocating. So it's a interesting story setup where you are working for, quote, progress, but you are also making people leave the homes that they have built, the businesses that they've been running. And you can see the areas in town where cultural hubs like markets and small businesses are being replaced with anonymous looking government buildings and things like that. So just like Papers, Please, seems to be a very morally gray game, and you do have those kind of choices that you had in Papers, Please of, do I push against the rules that are given to me to try and help these individual people, or do I try to follow the rules and not make things worse for myself? And you will have that push and pull. I felt that during the demo. It remains to be seen how consequences could come on you, where if you let too many things slide, I don't know if the hammer's going to come down on you. We'll have to see when the game releases. Right now, Compensation Not Guaranteed does not have a release date, but there is a demo on Steam you can try if all this sounds interesting to you. And again, if you love Papers, Please, and you want to see a kind of different cultural take on it, another type of government bureaucracy, trying to get little small wins while possibly making things worse for the place where you live, Compensation Not Guaranteed is going to deliver that, I think. Next up is Undusted, Letters from the Past, which is developed by 5 Minute Lab Corporation, which is a subgroup within Krafton, Korean developers, and published by Toge Productions. This is a kind of visual novel plus cleaning gameplay, a la Power Wash Simulator, except in Undusted, you are cleaning little household objects with toothbrushes and sponges and things like that. The basic story setup is that your character is entering your childhood house, which is long abandoned, it seems, and reliving memories as you come across sentimental objects like a porcelain cup or a pocket watch, and cleaning them up, reliving the memories of the people who used to use these things. The game is designed to give a nostalgic feeling throughout the story, and the demo had a hint of sad story, as you may expect from that story setup, but the gameplay itself was very, very satisfying. I could feel myself getting into that Zen kind of mode that Power Wash Simulator gets you in, even though, like I said, I'm on the busy, loud show floor at PAX. So if you like visual novels and if you like those cleaning, satisfying type of games, you may want to check out Undusted, Letters from the Past. It does not currently have a release date, but stay tuned, you can wishlist it on Steam. One of the types of games that had an oddly large presence on the PAX show floor is rhythm games, and there are a lot of indie developers taking rhythm gameplay and merging it with other types of games. So I have 3 rhythm-inspired games to share with you all. The first one is Fresh Tracks. Developed and published by Buffalo, and Fresh Tracks was one of my favorites on the show floor. It is an endless runner a la Sayonara Wild Hearts, but with dynamic music like Tetris Effect, where you'll have a song that's playing, but as you collect little items throughout, as you chop down trees or things like that, you'll hear little additions to the soundscape that fit in with the song that you're playing in the rhythm of the song. I got to speak with a couple of developers on the show floor, and they told me they wanted to have the game feel like a DJ set, kind of how Tetris Effect feels as you go through maybe playing multiple levels of that game. The endless runner side of things is you're skiing, and you can dodge, you can jump, you can sword slash, you can lean from side to side to avoid obstacles, cut down trees in your way, and things like that. The developers told me that the music was the first priority in Fresh Tracks, even going so far as to say that the game was designed music first. Perfect the music, then build levels to fit those songs, then build art and story to fit those levels and the songs. And a cool thing, there are multiple characters to play as, and as different characters playing through similar levels, the genre of music will change. So in the first track that I played, there was a kind of a Sayonara Wild Hearts Tetris Effect style song, a pretty chill pop song, but they said that could change to a classical piece or a heavy metal song, depending on what's going on in the story and who you play as. Now, rhythm games have an issue with accessibility a lot of times, that some people just can't stay on the beat. And one thing that they made an emphasis in Fresh Tracks is making sure that you complete the game even without staying on the beat if you survive the endless runner style gameplay. It's also a roguelike, so you'll get to play the levels over and over again to build the mastery over the level and the song and the whole experience. And then that final time when you make it through the entire game is when you'll get that really smooth, really effective DJ set type experience. I had a lot of fun playing this on the show floor, and I think this is one to really keep an eye out if what I've talked about has sounded interesting to you at all. There's no release date for Fresh Tracks yet, but you should definitely wishlist it on Steam because I think it's going to be a really cool game. Next up is a game called Nocturne, which is a rhythm game RPG. Developed and published by PAX East Studios, again, rhythm game RPG that takes place in a digital afterlife. So there was some catastrophe on Earth. Many people were uploaded to this digital afterlife, but many people were not. And so they're still living with that event, living with, who's here but who's not, who didn't make it. So we're going to learn about what happened there. I heard it described as Soma without the existential dread, which is very good. If anyone has played Soma, you know what I'm talking about there. And the gameplay in this rhythm RPG is different from the next one I'm going to talk about. This one is like a Guitar Hero style rhythm gameplay, where you have the notes that come down from top to bottom, and you have to press the buttons as the notes come down in time with the song. The default controls were for a keyboard, which I found extremely difficult to wrap my head around on the show floor, but they did say that there will be controller support in future versions of the game and on the demo that's currently on Steam. There's an emphasis in this combat with not just hitting the notes, but hitting enough to build up attacks of your own, and then you get an indicator when an enemy is about to attack. And if you can hit on beat an attack that interrupts the enemy's attacks, you do tons of bonus damage. And you can win the combat either by depleting the enemy's health or just surviving to the end of a roughly 1 minute song. And the developer on the show floor told me that there's going to be over 100 songs in the game. So if you like Guitar Hero style rhythm games and you like RPGs, Nocturne seems like it's going to be something for you. And the story really hinted at some neat things in the short demo that I got to play. So that is Nocturne. There's a demo on Steam right now, and they're targeting a 2026 release date, so keep your eye on it. The final rhythm game is one that was on the show floor of PAX East 2024 and has been featured in Steam Next Fest since, but they were back, their release date is coming soon, and that game is Fretless, The Wrath of Riffson. Developed by Ritual Studios and published by Playdigious Originals, it is a rhythm game RPG, but not in the Guitar Hero style like Nocturne was. This is more of a rhythm heaven type of thing when you do an attack and you'll have a short sequence of rhythm things to do. Maybe a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, something like that, instead of an endless cascade of notes. More QTE based on the rhythm side of things. Maybe a more involved Mario and Luigi RPG or Clair Obscur, something like that. But definitely more rhythm and music based. Even the entire world in Fretless is built around musical instruments. The story is revolving around saving a battle of the bands that's happening. There are themed enemies and bosses. They're all very, very music based. The music is fantastic. The combat is fantastic. I got to play this at Steam Next Fest, and the demo that was at PAX is the same as that Next Fest demo. That demo is still up on Steam, and Fretless is currently targeting a summer 2025 release date. The last group of games that I got to try on the show floor are games with a real horror tint to them. So 3 horror games upcoming, starting with The Lacerator, which is developed by Games from the Abyss and published by Dread XP. In The Lacerator, you play as an adult entertainer who wakes up after who knows what happened and finds themselves in a real Silent Hill-ass prison. So you're trying to get out of there, but it's not just Silent Hill. There is also a Resident Evil 2 or 3 pursuer-type enemy following you around, ambushing you around corners, called the Lacerator. And when the Lacerator finds you, you can try to fight it off, but I was not able to, and the Lacerator does what the Lacerator does and chops off body parts. So during the course of my demo, I did make it to the end of the demo, but my character made it there with 1 less arm and no penis. So that is on the end of chapter screen. It tells you what body parts you lost, and that's what my character lost along the way. The game has a very funny sense of humor about it, a very, let's say, riffing on super, super toxic masculine dudes type of sense of humor to it. For example, I picked up a banana as an item in there, and my character said, "I would never eat a food shaped like this." He always smokes a cigarette, even though he only has 1 arm left. He doesn't know how to reload a gun, so he just replaces the entire cylinder. It's a very funny game, despite the body mutilation that is bound to happen to you. This really felt like a Dread XP ass game, and I'm glad that Dread XP was showcasing it on the show floor. So this is The Lacerator. There's a demo on Steam, and they're targeting a 2025 release date. The next game I got to play is one that I know a lot of people have been looking forward to for a while. It's called Demonschool, which is developed by Necrosoft Games and published by Isbrid Games. It is a Persona-style slice-of-life RPG with turn-based grid combat. Right off the bat, you'll see this beautiful 2D pixel art and these really cool 3D bosses. Like there in the demo, there was a big skeleton that you got to fight. There is a story reason why some things appear in 3D, like it's the work of demons or something like that. The bulk of the demo that I played was learning about how the combat works, and it seems to be a pretty deep combat system, kind of inspired a little bit by Into the Breach, where you can set up moves, preview how everything is going to work. You can rewind if you don't like how it's going to work out, and then you hit play, your turn, your team and the enemy all take their turns at the same time. It's really based on trying to maximize the shared AP pool between your teammates, different abilities that will create better situations, maybe pushing an enemy into the path of another attack from a teammate, stuff like that. Really feels like that Into the Breach influence on combat in Demonschool. It also seems pretty complex, like there's a lot of depth to it, and difficult encounters could really, really stretch your brain to try to get out of it with as little damage as possible. I didn't get a chance to experience the story a whole lot in the demo, but it does seem like it's going to be a cool story setup and the characters are going to be fun. So if that sounds fun to you, again, that kind of Persona style slice of life, hang out with friends, go around the town, do side quests and stuff, and then that turn-based combat, I think this is going to be a cool game, and I can see why a lot of people have been looking forward to it for a very long time. So that is Demonschool. There's a demo on Steam right now. They're targeting a summer 2025 release date on PC, Switch, Xbox, and PS4 and PS5.
The lonely heart cries out to be heard.
The final game is Love Eternal, developed by BRLKA, sorry, don't know how to say that, and published by Isbrid Games. Love Eternal was one of my favorites on the show floor, so I saved it for last. It is What If VVVVVV was a psychological horror game. You have that gravity shifting platforming from VVVVVV and the kind of double jump little token that you can collect in midair from Celeste, remember, that will allow you to do another dash. So right off the bat, very responsive, very fun platforming game, but also a real psychological horror twist to it. I didn't get a chance in the demo to find out exactly what was going on. The PR rep on site told me that there's going to be something cool coming in later on, and honestly, the platforming was good enough, really, really snappy and satisfying, that I'm willing to take their word that there's something cool happening in the story in there, and even if there's not, it's going to be a really good platforming game, especially if you like VVVVVV. I'm counting how many V's I say every time I say the name of that game. If you like that game, I think you should check this out for sure, and then if you like psychological horror, then this is really one to look forward to. Love Eternal is currently targeting a 2025 release date on PC, Switch, Xbox, and PS4 and PS5. So that's it. That is all 17 of the indie games that I played on the PAX East show floor. But there are two cool things that I want to tell you about before we go. First of all, I was on a panel at PAX East. It was video game trivia, hosted by Jacob McCourt. So I got to compete in video game trivia alongside fellow contestants Steve Saylor, Lightweight Gaming, Trina Smith, Dan O'Mac, and CG Danny B to find out who was the king of video game trivia for PAX East 2025. They did not live stream it this time, but there will be a video of the panel of the trivia show on Jacob McCourt's YouTube channel. So I'll link that below. Please check that out. It was a very fun time. And just as a little tease, somehow the entire crowd broke into singing the iCarly theme song. So be on the lookout and find out why that happened and figure out which one of us took home the crown in video game trivia. Also, if you're at the end of this, I know that you love indie games because we just went through 17 of them. If you love indie games, you're definitely looking forward to the 6-1 Indie Showcase on May 22nd. I got a chance to preview that showcase while at PAX East, and while I can't tell you anything that was involved in the showcase, I can tell you that it kicked ass, and you should be on the lookout for that. So as this is being published, it's just in a few days. May 22nd, 6-1 Indie will be showing off 48 kick-ass indie games, and I think you're really going to want to see what they have in store for everybody there. So that is the final announcement. Please look out for the 6-1 Indie Showcase. I will link the 6-1 Indie YouTube channel below, but go follow them anyway, because if you love indie games, look no further than 6-1. So that's it. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for coming with me all the way to the end of this journey. A lot of video games, a lot of great times with friends. My voice is finally recovered from karaoke, so I can do this video for you. So thank you. I appreciate you all very much. If you want to support the work that I do, please check out patreon.com/RealDaveJackson. You can find a link down in the show notes for that, and it is a great way to support me. It's much appreciated. Also, be on the lookout. Some of the games I talked about today will surely be getting the deep dive treatment here on this channel and on my podcast feed, Tales from the Backlog. So subscribe there if you want the audio version. So thank you all. I'll see you next time. Here's to PAX East 2026.